So yeah, that's what's been going on with me. Probably won't go at the top of the podcast, all of that.
No, I'll probably cut all that
Maybe
out.
just the bit about handing over poo in your hand to someone. That'll be a good laugh.
If you want that in, yeah. With no context.
Yeah, just hand over your poo. Massive urge to go back and play some like Guitar Hero.
Oh right, yeah.
Because they did a new Guitar Hero not that long ago, I feel. But I can't remember. But oh man, I would love to get back on some of that. Guitar Hero 2 and 3 are some of my favourite games of all time.
Yeah, I did enjoy 1 and 2 a lot.
Yeah.
But like I know that if I had that little hankering to play it, I'd go back and be like, I'd play like 2 songs and be like, great.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, maybe that's all I need though. Maybe they're just those 2 tracks. Get in there, play Cult of Personality by Living Colour, which is an absolute banger. Yeah, not much exciting on really, as you can imagine up here. It's just pretty, and now the weather's gone to pot. So it's all.
It's been shocking.
It's pretty dour, and you know,
it's been rubbish.
Yeah, is it bad down there?
I mean, today. So last week it was like rainy day, sunny day, rainy day, sunny day, rainy day, sunny day, and then like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday has just been rain.
Yeah,
and today I was like, oh, sunny, nice, and then it's just been raining like on and off. It's like, what the hell?
It's been
it's just crap.
It's been switching between sunny and like really sunny, like beautiful, and then the clouds are moving at a rate of knots up here, mate. I'm telling you. Do what I was going to say. Should we do what we're paid to do? But there's no money going on here. Come on,
no, absolutely not.
We're not being paid for this.
Out of our pockets.
Well, genuinely is. Make this thing bloody happen. I'll tell you how we could get a new MVL for this week. Whoever can pay us £50 each, you will be this week's MVL. I'm joking.
That's not even a joke.
Sorry, no, I'm not joking. We're poor. Anyway, let's do this podcast, baby. The engine's not quite starting. What's that Popeye? Why is he coming in?
I don't know.
Yeah, gotta eat my greens. That was a terrible. Gotta eat my greens. It was like a Yorkshire Popeye. I gotta eat my greens, lad. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, goodness me. It's been 2 weeks.
Well, it has been 2 weeks, Mark, because you've been surfing down in Devon.
Absolutely the opposite of what I've been doing. The only thing correct about that statement is the location.
Devs. You've been down in Devs recording a lovely album for someone, and you had a nice time, but you didn't do much else other than that, did you?
It was busy time.
Did you even game while you were down there?
No, I switched on my Switch once to play Dead Cells.
Great game.
And then was like, can't be bothered. See ya. So I didn't game for 2 weeks, which is probably quite healthy in a way.
Yeah. You're probably coming back to it with a fresh pair of eyes and ears.
I suppose so, yeah.
We got
all my opinions change. I love Skyrim.
Whoa, that'll be the day when pigs bloody fly, Mark. I bet, or more like dragons, because of that game. We got plenty of big news and stories because it's been a whole 2 weeks. Although I would say that compared to the last 2 or 3 months, there wasn't actually, apart from one very, very big thing, there wasn't loads of huge. I guess they're kind of in the final straight of the console preparations. But anyway, we'll get into all of that. We have some stuff to talk about. We haven't had a new MVL since last time, Mark.
No, that's true. So I guess Keaton... No, wait.
Now, Keaton was dethroned.
Lawal Mohammed is still MVL.
He is indeed. And that can only mean one thing, right?
absolute 80s synthwave banger you put together for him there.
That's the only genre that I deal in, I'm afraid, Mark. I don't think I can do anything else. Just 80s synthwave bangers.
It was great. I do, when I find the time, I will remix it because I slightly did it in a rush, so it's not quite up to the standard I like to be. But
okay, that's
a hell of a take.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that a lot, and I hope, Lawal, that you enjoy it yourself. Let us know, give us your feedback, and if you want to do a remix of it, feel free. So yeah, please do. To become the next MVL, all you need to do is tell 5 people about this podcast, whether that's via Twitter, Facebook, however you want to do it. Just let us know that you've done it. Maybe tag the people that you've told about it. That's a good way of telling us you've done it. Let us know. This is just a nice, healthy way of getting the podcast out there. And we'll give you a jingle if you do it, like we did for a while.
Come on, you get the MVL stamp. That means most valuable listener, and you get a free jingle. It's a good deal.
It's a barnstorming smash hit of a deal, Mark, so people should bloody get on it.
You're damn right. Actually, if Keaton and Lawal want their jingle, as in, obviously it's on the podcast, but if they want a copy of it, just email us and I'll send you it, because why not? You might as well have it for yourself.
You'll press it to vinyl for them, won't you, Mark?
No. That's expensive.
Yeah, that's a lot. First up this week, well, you've kind of given away that you haven't been up to a whole lot while you were down in Devon, but I'm sure you've got some little nuggets for us. What have we been playing? Mark, do you want to start this week?
Well, I mean, I could start, but I mean, you've been you're
gobbling like a Christmas turkey over there.
I mean, I can do if you want. Why not? Okay. So over that 2 weeks, as I said, I turned on my Switch and turned it off again. So I didn't really play a whole lot. But when I came back, Squadrons was due to be out, and I was like, cool, pre-order of that, and started playing that, and I'm really enjoying it. I think that I don't know how deep to go into it, because I want to do a Star Wars special. Maybe we'll make it a Christmas special or something if you're up for that. A Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh, mate.
How do you feel about that?
That's the best sentence I've ever heard.
Because I want to talk about everything Star Wars cinematic. The reason I want to do that is because I have a love-hate relationship with Star Wars, and you're definitely a cemented fan. You love it. And I think I personally need some answers to some stuff and want to go into it a bit more, because I do love Star Wars.
Sounds like a sort of like Star Wars therapy session for you more than anything.
Well, a little bit. But anyway, not going into that, let's talk about Squadrons.
Okay.
So I've completed the story. It's probably like 5 or 6 hours. I did it on the pilot difficulty, which, is normal difficulty.
Yeah.
Had a good time. It does feel very Star Wars, great voice acting. When I saw the original trailers, I wasn't sure about the graphics, but once I got in, it's just it feels very film kind of, you feel like you're in it, very action kind of feeling to it, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
I had to turn off the film grain, but it looks great. It feels great. I'm playing with a HOTAS, so I'm getting that sort of immersive vibe to it. No VR, I'm afraid, but it does support it if you've got an Oculus or a Vive.
You've done a pretty good home edit to create your HOTAS setup.
Yeah.
If you want to check what Mark's built for himself over there, head over to our Twitter page and look at the picture that we posted. It's quite something to behold.
It's hideous and includes a lot of zip ties. But I really am enjoying it. It's very evocative of the Star Wars thing. They've sort of done the right thing within the story that they haven't. It would be very easy to just have a shot of like, oh look, it's a Jedi, and kind of include. There's basically no mention of Jedi. There's little mentions of the Force, and there's Hera Syndulla in there, and there are a couple of characters that you will recognize. That sort of have a line or something, but they're not really part of the story, but they still they give you that feeling that they're in the universe. Like Leia is one of them. She basically has like a little monologue at the start or near the start, but it doesn't appear again, which is a little bit weird, because I think at this point she'd be leading the Resistance, but she's kind of has no presence in the game, which is fine. But I think they did the right thing in terms of fan service. They don't just go, oh, look, it's a Jedi, and kind of like try and poke you with Star Warsy stuff. So you just feel like, cool, you're you're a pilot, this is the story you're involved in, this is what you're doing, and it kind of, you're wrapped in that, and it's not just like Star Wars for Star Wars' sake. Here's the Star Wars thing. Remember this? Everyone kind of has a place.
Focused.
Yeah. So I appreciate that a lot. There are some hilarious like AI bugs that have happened. I was actually streaming locally to my friend Luke, who does occasional research for the podcast. Thank you, Luke. And he was just watching like some gameplay happen, and I was flying with the squadron and the AI, and it was like, I can't remember if it was the start or the end of the mission, but this X-Wing basically inverted in front of me and just smashed into me and killed me. But it was like instantly, and he was taking a sip of tea and died. As in, he was just choking, and I heard him burst out laughing. So there's like some just hilarious little occasional bugs like that happen.
That's mad.
It's just very funny. Anyway, I'm playing the story again because I enjoyed it that much. I'm doing it on the top difficulty, and yoikers.
Hard?
It's very difficult, but enjoying it a lot. Multiplayer wise, not.
Yeah.
I've played a bit. There's the sort of, you do like a fleet battle thing where the idea is that like you're trying to push the attack line to get to their capital ship and destroy the capital ship and defend your own. There's one where you're basically versus AI, and that's the kind of non-ranked version, and that's like fine, but it's AI.
Yeah.
The player versus player version of that I haven't played because it's ranked, and there's no non-ranked version.
Yeah.
And I'm slightly like, if I don't have a squadron, I'm probably going to get like, as in friends to play with, I'm probably going to get pantsed on.
Yeah.
So I've sort of ignored it.
Okay.
The other version is just like 5v5 deathmatch, and that's high octane, really fun,
like a
massively enjoying
kind of thing.
that. But yeah, you're waiting for it to come on Game Pass, aren't you?
I am indeed, yeah, just because Xbox have recently sort of not acquired EA, but they've said that they're partnering up with them, so loads of their games are coming to Game Pass, and that will include Star Wars Squadron. So, and I think that's coming start of November time, something like November the 10th. So I just thought I'd wait till then because I do really want it. But that just seems like it's not that long to wait. So as soon as it comes out on Game Pass, mate, I'm going to be joining up in your squadron, mate, and let's do it.
I'm assuming I need to check the options again, but I'm assuming it's already cross-platform.
I think it is. Yeah.
Because that'd be amazing. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be more balancing and fixes to come in the past. Someone's already said that you'll have to correct me on the names. People already want more ships, and they've said that the B-Wing and I forgot what it's called. It's the TIE fighter that has 3 interceptor wings around it instead of 2. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. I can't remember what that's called. That's quite a new one.
But they said that it'd be cool if you could have those, but then people were discussing, well, how would you balance them? Because you've kind of got all your bases covered with the bombers and the support ships and stuff. But I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, I also wondered if there'd be sort of, the equivalent of in Battlefront. I mean, it might be a little bit too silly, but in Battlefront, you can get like hero characters that spawn into the battle. I wonder if they would do that with like the Millennium Falcon, like spawns in for a little bit and helps you out, or that kind of thing. Or if that would just be a bit too game breaking.
It would be game breaking, I think. And also just because the gameplay style is you're not supporting like ground troops. It is fighter versus fighter. It's all space or atmosphere like battles. You know what I mean? It's not like, so if you had like a big random Millennium Falcon come into some sort of kill streak, I don't know, that would change the game a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's set up.
It would be
that.
less.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Be less. Well, because it's not simmy, is it? But it is quite realistic.
It's more in depth.
Yeah.
It plays more fighter planey than space simmy.
Yes,
so I've played Elite Dangerous, and in Elite Dangerous you have pitch, roll, yaw, all that sort of thing, but you can also just move the ship, if you think on an axis, straight up with engines, straight down with engines, and left and right.
Yeah.
Like from stationary, if you like. With this game, there's none of that. It's all point where you want to fly. There's no reverse.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So you don't have individual control of like drifting in the other directions. So it's more fighter planey in that regard, which makes it more accessible.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot to think about because you're constantly directing to, your power and stuff. And it's great. It's a good balance. And I think for people like yourself who love Star Wars but also aren't playing these sims will be able to get in and learn the controls and be like, yeah, this makes sense. Well, it's complicated, but like, enjoy it. I could go into more stuff, but we can't stay here talking about flipping squadrons all day.
It's tempting, but yeah, there's a lot to get
through.
Very,
very quickly, the other game I briefly played was Among Us, which suddenly came.
Oh yeah,
it's
of
like
course.
It's a 2-year-old game. For some reason, YouTubers suddenly picked it up. Basically, it's like the graphics are like Flash game stuff. It's like up to 10 players. The idea is that you're running around doing tasks, and there's one or two imposters who like have to covertly look like they're doing jobs, and then like have to kill everyone before they complete all the tasks around the map. But what's funny is that if someone finds a dead body, you alert it, and then everyone has to convince everyone that they're not the imposter and find the imposter and then eject them into space. It's had some really like funny gameplay montages on Twitch and YouTube and that sort of thing. It was very cheap because it's an old game, so like just picked it up and played it with a mate. It's really good fun. It'd be more fun if I had more people playing it at once, because I think if you want to get the best out of that game, what you want to do, get 5 to 10 people that you know together, get in voice chat, mute during the game, and then once a kill has happened, someone's alerted, unmute and then discuss it in live rather than type chat.
Yeah.
And be like, no, I was in lower engine doing this. I think I saw pink come out of a vent.
Yeah.
And like try and convince each other.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of
It's
fun.
loads like a game. It's not a video game, but just like I guess you'd call it like a parlor game, but a game you play in real life with people in the room, if you can imagine that, called Mafia, which is basically where you...
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, where you wake up, people are dead, and like the narrator says, oh, you wake up, everyone open your eyes, we found a dead body, discuss who it could be, and then you basically, you have to vote for the person that you think it. So it's basically like a video game version of that.
It's Mafia.
It just creates so much madness and slander and fun. So I've watched quite a lot of gameplay of it, and it looks really, really good. It's sort of taken Fall Guys' mantle as sort of the big viral game, I suppose, of the moment, and Fall Guys has slightly fallen off a bit.
And what's funny is they're both bean people.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, I don't really know what that's happened. I mean, obviously everything has like a time for hype. I think I said this to a friend the other night that like I think Fall Guys is the better game.
Yeah.
But there's probably more memorable moments to be had in Among Us. Like especially if you're playing with friends, you'll probably have more individually funny and like and tense moments. Whereas like as a jump in and play and the activities you do, like Fall Guys is probably the better game.
Yeah, but like say, Fall Guys is a very sort of solo experience. I mean, there are moments of
can be.
There are moments of like team stuff in Fall Guys, but in Among Us, it's very, like you said, it's very much about those conversations. It's about those wild moments of people getting away with things. So is that all you've been playing? Yeah,
it's just those two. I didn't pick up Hades in the sale. I thought I'd just wait. I'm not in a big rush, but I've heard really good things about it. So I look forward to playing that at some point. Yeah, what else? I think that's kind of it.
Okay, mate. Well, I finished Resident Evil 7 and absolutely loved it. Really, really good.
It's installed. I need to play it.
Oh, good, mate. Just like I said, make sure you got a few clean pairs of pants right next to you, ready for when you do it. I really, really enjoyed it. Just great. Scary throughout the whole game. I'd say it obviously gets less scary once you start getting the ridiculous Resident Evil guns. Like you get like the grenade launcher and all of that sort of stuff. It starts being a bit more like, okay, I feel like nothing can stop me at this point. And they start to introduce enemies that are so like unrealistic, like giant bloated things that when you shoot them, they explode with acid and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, I slightly believe this less now. But it has the very realistic and sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe for long enough to really keep you hooked. I don't want to spoil it for you because you might be playing it shortly, but like I absolutely loved it. My only sort of slight criticism is that like there are a few, when you get to a point in a game where it's like, oh, that's a great ending, and then it just carries on. That kind of happened twice, and I was like, oh, could have ended there. And because you can put a lot of time into the game if you're playing it to like discover everything. So that was a little bit, and it wasn't that what followed was bad. It was more that I was just like, oh, I'm kind of ready for that to be it now. But it's still a really good story throughout, and it's really cool. The way it ends is really cool. So I enjoyed that.
So just to clarify, the places where you thought it could end, was that more of a mentality of I'm done now, or was it actually that would have wrapped up really nicely and could have ended?
It's sort of location based in that you spend ages in this basically this big like house in this main bit, and then you sort of escape it, and you think it's going to be the end. And it feels like it should be,
okay.
But it's not. Which is fine, because it does make sense within the story as to why it carries on. But I was just very much ready, like, oh, okay. But no, I really enjoyed it. It's a cracking game and a massive return to form for Resident Evil.
Yeah, that's good. We've said before our favourite is 4.
Yeah.
So from 8, what I'd like to see is like. Not 4 again, but that more of that kind of vibe in terms of the gameplay, but perhaps with the intensity and that sort of rhythm that 7's obviously bringing.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw at the end of the trailer, but they've sort of got a bit of a hint to like a new merchant. At the very end of the trailer, it's this fat bloke, and he says something like, "Have a look what I've got." I can't remember. It's not that. That's a crap line. But something. Have a look what I've got. It's something better than that.
Hey,
what are you buying? Whoa, that was weird.
Did that at the same time.
That was really weird.
What else?
Yeah, so so the other one, Doom Eternal, came to Game Pass, which I've just started.
Ooh, how's it?
Yeah.
Let me check if it's on PC.
Yeah, check it's on PC, mate. Should be.
I'd be well up for that. I loved 2016.
Yeah.
It was such a good gameplay loop. I just thought it was so fun.
Oh, it's great. And Doom Eternal is more of that, and even potentially like more crazy.
Hey, we saying better?
I don't really know, to be honest. In some ways, yes.
Or more of the same in a good way with some changes that aren't better or worse.
If you liked Doom 2016, you're gonna like this. Let's just say that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's more of that sort of heavy metal, damage an enemy enough to make him flash orange and then perform a gory glory kill on it. Like, it's all of that sort of stuff. There's quite a lot of like almost platformy bits in this one, which is good. But like maybe a little bit too much of it. But it's all sort of like platformy to access hidden objects and stuff that will help. You know, there's loads of collectibles, and also there's loads of...
It's kind of more of the same.
Yeah, there's loads of upgrades to be found for your guns and that kind of thing. There seems to be quite a big upgrade system. There's like 3 different ways of upgrading your character. Really enjoying it. And just, the vibe of it is great. It's quite like a mindless game. It's not very like, I don't know, you're not thinking about much while you play it other than shooting jaws off demon hordes of demons. But that's just great sometimes. So I'm really enjoying that. And finally, the other game is Hades, which you've already mentioned. I've got it on the Nintendo Switch, and absolutely flipping love that game. So we've mentioned before, it's by Supergiant, who made Bastion and
I was going to say Nier Automata, but that's not what I mean.
No, it isn't. It's.
I know what you mean.
It's something to do with Transistor.
Yes,
that's it. And another one called Pyre, but I never played that. I've only ever played Bastion, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. But basically, this is brilliant. It has a sort of similar gameplay style, but just done a lot better. You've got a dodge, you've got a normal attack, and you've got a special attack. You've also got a cast, which it can do various things. A thing called a call, which is where you summon the help of a god to come and help you. But basically, the main aspect of it is you are the son of Hades. You are climbing up through the various levels of hell, having to defeat hordes of monsters on the way up. But the main sort of special, mechanic of it is you get these boons from gods. And the boons upgrade your character in various ways, but they're all related to the various Greek gods. So If you accept Zeus's boons, it's all sort of lightning based. If you accept Aphrodite's boons, it's all about kind of luring in enemies and making them weak because you make them fall in love with you. If you accept, what's his name? Oh, what's the like gluttonous one who's obsessed with wine? Oh, what's he called? Anyway, there's like Neptune and Icarus and all these lads. And basically you get boons from them, lads. And you can combine the different gods' powers to sort of make sort of hybrid powers and all this kind of thing. And it's really, really cool. So you can sort of, as you play, you start to think, I really like the powers and the boons that Zeus gives me. So I'm going to try and get as many from him and build up my character with his boons. But then there's also the weapons that you start off each run with. Oh, I should mention it's a roguelike. So you start each round with a weapon of your choice. My favorite is the shield. It functions a bit like Captain America's shield, so you can smack people about. So
are you kind of setting yourself up for each run like you do in
basically, yeah. So sort of you choose the weapon in this little hall to start with. You choose a weapon. You can upgrade your weapon with stuff you find. You can choose like what. So once you've kind of get into it a bit, each weapon has 4 branches of sort of different types of effects the weapon can have. So there's loads to play with. There's also these relics that you can do a run with, which will give you a special sort of multiplier, or will say like 10% extra damage to enemies far away from you, or it'll be like get 10 extra gold every time you enter a room. So just like relics like that. So there's loads and loads of stuff to play with. It really just makes you want to keep playing it. It's like something like Dead Cells, because every time you do a run, you come back to the hub world and there's loads of stuff you can unlock and play with, and it just begs you to keep going and going and going and replaying and replaying. Plus, it's hard to beat Hades, the final boss, is quite a hard thing to do, but it's not so hard that you think I'll never do this, or once I've done it, I'm never going to play again. It's like accomplishable enough, if that's a word, to make you finish it and think, I want to beat him again, but with the other weapon. I want to beat him again with all of these difficulty stuff put on to gain all this extra stuff. So yeah, it's a very rewarding game. And I would highly, if you like roguelikes, I'd recommend it. If you have played Supergiant games in the past, so Bastion, etc., haven't liked them, give this a go, because I think it is a roguelike game done so well. So that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on it. Just really, really enjoying it, and gets better every time you play it. So that's what I've been playing. Yeah. That's what we've been playing.
That sounds really good. I will pick it up at some point. I didn't like Bastion at all, but this sounds like it's got a lot more character and drive to play it, and also a lot of things that like change up the gameplay and make it interesting. Yeah, that's it. Which is what I think Bastion suffered from.
And there's a lot of humour in there as well, because you talk every time you accept a boon from the gods. You have these little conversations with each of the gods. So they all have their own personalities and that sort of thing. And you can build relationships with each of the gods, and the relationships will reward you in different ways. So it's clever. There's a lot to unpack. Would recommend.
Yeah, really up for it. I'll wait for another sale. I don't think it's still on sale. Should we check? I can update you. I don't think it is.
I got it on the last day of its sale, so I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's what I reckon. Let me just check on the old Swede.
Have a little look-see, buddy.
They're still rocking the Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
Yeah, I noticed that. I wonder if they'll be doing that
sort of theme.
I wonder if they'll be doing that a while, because it's just this whole 35th year.
Hades is currently $22.49, and I think it went down to $17.80 something.
I think it's about £5 off.
Yeah, so yeah, no longer on sale, but sounds like if you just wanted to get it off sale, it'd be worth it.
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, I would pay the extra £5 for it, but also there'll be sales, because we're coming up to that time of year where loads of stuff goes on sale for Christmas, etc.
Should we move on to the news?
Let's move on to the NES.
As we said earlier, or rather Joe said earlier, it's been a crazy 2 or 3 months for news. It's gone a little bit quiet, but obviously over the last 2 weeks, there was one particular nugget that was rather tasty and big, so we'll get into that chat in a sec. Before before we left you for 2 weeks, I mentioned that there was going to be a Nintendo Direct Mini, which was their partner showcase, and said, we're not going to bother with that because it'll be poop. It kind of was poop. But just to cover it very briefly, this was 2 weeks ago in September. They showed a Monster Hunter Rise game that is exclusively for Switch that looks fine if you like Monster Hunter.
I've never been a Monster Hunter guy, but I thought that looked like it could be good.
Yeah, I never played one until Monster Hunter World and really enjoyed it, and have not played the big update and DLC that they brought, which apparently is as big as the original game. But at some point, maybe it's a game that's hard to like penetrate the skill level and like get into it. And I would have to relearn the game. But if I feel the need for doing that again, I'll probably give it another go.
Okay, sweet.
Alongside that, they also announced another one called Monster Hunter Stories 2, a series I didn't know existed, but it's a more anime-looking take. I don't really know what the gameplay's like, but that's there too. Go check it out. The other announcements were another fitness boxing game, because of course Empire of Sin is coming to the Switch as well as Sniper Elite 4, The Long Dark. There was some golf game, championship, whatever. Hades, of course, and Balan Wonderworld, which we've talked about before. Another game called Rune Factory 5. And of course, the final thing was the Switch release for Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is a nice thing to stick at the end, and a lot of people will be happy about that. But in general, no big shocking things that made me think Nintendo, go lads.
Yeah, no, not a lot of shockers. I mean, the thing that was weird for me was I can remember they showed the Hades trailer and I was like, yes, that's out today. Awesome. I'm going to go get that. And then I sort of looked back at the screen and it was on to Balan Wonderworld, which we had talked about in the past and how absolutely stinking awful it looked. And they spent like not 10 minutes, but a long time talking about Balan Wonderworld in whatever their old direct was that they announced it.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they just slot it into this and it's just like, oh, here it is. And it's like, what is this game? What the hell is going on? And I thought they were showing gameplay of some old like Sega Dreamcast game that they were remaking or something like that.
Actually.
And then it was Balan. It was like, oh no, this is the game that it just looks
that is such a shout,
trash.
Because the Dreamcast was actually ahead of its time. So a lot of the games from there obviously look old now, but like still look kind of great. And that graphical style, you're spot on. That graphical style is very much Dreamcasty in its look. I mean, it just doesn't look good.
No.
But why they're spending so much time on it, weird. I don't know, because I don't think it's even an exclusive.
No. Well, I don't either. It was just weird that it was just all of a sudden just shoved into this showcase amongst loads of other random stuff. Doesn't look great. Sorry, Balan Wonderworld. I won't be getting that. No. But yeah, really great that Ori and Will of the Wisps, they've announced when it's coming. Excited. I've obviously completed it already on Xbox, but I just want to recommend anybody. And apparently it runs like crazy well on the Switch as well. They've managed to make both games run really well on Switch. So if you haven't experienced them yet and you are a Switch owner, 100% check them out, because they are some excellent sort of platformy, I don't know what you call it really, platform with RPG elements. I don't know.
It's not that RPG.
Platform.
It's kind of.
It's sort of got progression, hasn't it? I don't know.
It's not actually. No, I was about to say Castlevania-esque, but it's not at all.
It is a Metroidvania vibe because you unlock because you revisit like various areas once you have different powers.
But I don't think calling it that a Metroidvania does it justice, because it's not quite that.
No.
Something like that.
No, it's not.
The next piece of news, which is fairly recent, CD Projekt Red have announced that Cyberpunk has gone gold. And this confounded a few people, because we're in an age where people don't remember what discs and stuff are. Including one of my friends who's slightly older than me, who should know better, Phil. It's an old term meaning master disc. Basically, the gold original first print that then gets duplicated. So what they're saying is the game is in a complete state. The gold master disc has been printed, which probably isn't true. It will just be a file these days. And they're ready to duplicate it, make copies, make codes for all the various places it's going out to. The game is done, people. It's in a release state.
The game is ready, Phil. Phil, come on, man, it's ready.
So it basically confirms that there won't be any more delays. They're done.
Woo!
It's tweaked and polished, and we look forward to that in November.
I've realised that I'm finally getting to the stage where I'm so ready for that game. I think it's because I didn't want to get too excited in case it got delayed again. But now that tweet came out, I'm like, yeah.
All my excitement is gone. But that doesn't mean I'm not ready to play it. As in, because the game was going to be literally April or something, I've kind of just gone, well, that's a game that will come out at some point, bovved. But I know as soon as it comes out, I'll be like, oh, baby. But right now, I'm absolutely ambivalent.
I think all you need to just remember is playing The Witcher 3 and just think, I'm going to be diving back into one of their worlds. And obviously, Witcher 3, totally different, and it's based on a series of books, etc. But the way they make open world games, I think, is some of the best sort of exemplar material of that as a genre.
Yeah. Let's save that big piece of news for the last.
Okay.
So we'll move down. Crash 4 is out, and the reaction seems to be very positive, with many outlets touting it as a return to form and injecting new ideas into now classic gameplay.
Yeah. I don't know if you've watched or heard much about it, Mark, because I know you are a Crashman.
I'm a Crashman. Not really. I very, very quickly watched someone on Twitch just playing it. It's got that graphical style that doesn't please me aesthetically. I don't know why, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's that kind of look that all modern, excluding Balan Wonderworld, which looks crap, sort of modern platformers have this kind of cartoony, it's not cel-shaded, I don't know how to describe it, but it doesn't please me aesthetically. But
it's very vibrant.
It's very vibrant, but I mean, it looks more like, it looks like Crash and stuff. I don't really have anything to say. I can't play it yet because it's not on PC or Switch. So, that's something to look forward to if it comes over at some point.
Yeah.
People seem to like it though. So great.
Yeah, see, I think it's getting around an 80, early 80s on Metacritic. So it's doing all right. It's got, of course, as always though, in the user review section, it's being review bombed by loads of Xbox fans, which is dumb because it's a multi-platform game and it's come out on Xbox. So just people find any reason to. People are so thick, man. And all of their names of the people reviewing it are things affiliated to Xbox. I just saw a review from Master Chief 70 or something like that, just being like, this game sucks, 0 out of 10. At least try and hide it.
Yeah. Are you're not a Crashman, but was this something that you might pick up on a sale? You're not interested? Or Xbox Game Pass?
No, I wouldn't pay money for it. Let's just say that. And this is the weird thing now of being in this, I'm so invested into Xbox Game Pass where if I'm going to pay money for a game, I need to be 100% sure about it because I'm able to play so many games that I wouldn't normally be sure about for free. Or at least a tiny percentage of £10 a month. It would take a lot for me to spend money. Cyberpunk, I'm going to spend money on that. A big Nintendo first-party game like Breath of the Wild 2, I will spend money on that. But apart from that, all of your third-party games, I'm just not going to spend money on that, is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Microsoft...
That's just a funny one.
What, this next one?
Yeah, go on.
I misspoke anyway because I read it wrong. Minecraft's Steve has been added as the next DLC fighter to Smash Bros. Mark, what do you think about that?
Now, I know why you've said that like that, because you think I'm going to hate this so much.
Yeah.
What do I think about that? I think it's quite funny. I really like the Minecraft style arena / stage they made. Yes. I think that's really cool.
Have you watched clips of him playing and his animations and stuff?
Yeah,
because they're hilarious, man.
Yeah, it's all very funny. The problem I guess I would say I have with it is that Smash Bros is turning into a bit of. I know it's supposed to be the idea, of course, is that it's everyone fighting and that's kind of great and look how many people are in it. But it's becoming so open and so flooded with different franchises and characters that I personally feel like Smash is losing a lot of its original personality that made it great.
Yeah.
So I'm very much in two minds about the game in general, but I loved the aesthetic of the stage. I thought that's really fun. his moveset looks really funny. You know, I'm sure I'd have a lot of fun fighting him and fighting against it. So I'm a little bit in two minds about it, because when I think back to Melee and that how tight the core gameplay was, and the fact that you only had that selection of fighters and they were all very much Nintendo, was very much...
Apart from Snake.
And Snake wasn't in Melee.
Yeah, he was. Or wasn't he not? Oh, no, Brawl.
No,
yeah, sorry, it was Brawl, wasn't it?
I love Brawl as well. Yeah. Brawl's my favourite.
Brawl was great, yeah.
But even in Brawl, and that roster of characters that you had kind of gave it a tighter experience and made it, even with Snake and stuff, made it feel more Nintendo, and the aesthetic was a little bit more rounded. Whereas now it's like including a Piranha Plant, just so many different characters coming in and changing the feel and the way the game looks and feels is quite... I don't know how I feel about it personally. I think sometimes less is more. And I think I'm reaching that point for me with Smash Ultimate, because the roster is so flipping massive. But yeah, I enjoyed the trailer and it'll be fun, won't it? So whatever.
Yeah. I think it's the best one they've added in a while, just because there's only so much Fire Emblem and Xenoblade Chronicles a man can take. So I think it's
Banjo.
I like it.
That's great. Of course.
Banjo, brilliant, and I probably would like the guy from Persona if I had played any of the Persona games.
Exactly what I was going to say.
I think that's a cool addition. But for this, just because of the insanely huge player base that Minecraft has, I feel like it's just a really smart inclusion from Nintendo. And I do understand what you're saying about the feel of it and the kind of identity of Smash Bros as a thing. But these days it's more just a huge advertisement for games, and it doesn't really feel like this is the Nintendo showcase anymore, which is definitely true. But for me, in a nice way, it's sort of I like it that Nintendo, or at least however it works, people come into Nintendo, people within Nintendo have any ideas, however they come up with these ideas. I just really like that it's sort of, it's bringing these companies, they're forcing these companies to work together. I mean, Microsoft is sort of playing quite nicely with Nintendo at the moment, and with Ori going to the console, Minecraft is on all consoles. So it's definitely a nice relationship that they've got there anyway. But yeah, I just feel like it's a really fun and sort of great idea considering the Minecraft fan base, and it just looks, and because he is so different, it sort of reminds me of Mr. Game & Watch, in that it's how on earth does this character fit into this world, because of how hilariously out of place he looks. I just love it. I love things like that. I always used to play as Mr. Game & Watch just to piss my friends off, just because
get a 9. You just be waiting for that 9.
Yeah, exactly. So funny.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
that giant octopus he becomes on his final smash move, which is just horrendous. Yeah.
It also begs the question, what will happen in the future with Smash? Because, Ultimate provides an ultimatum.
Yeah.
But also, with such a large roster, what do they do next? Go bigger? Or do we strip it down and go, you know what? This is too much now. Let's go back to how many were in Brawl or whatever.
I really don't think they can do another one.
Yeah, they will.
But
not in this generation. But
I don't know what new they could possibly do other than just keep adding more characters, which is what, to be fair, is what people want. That people get hyped because they're who are they going to add next? That's really the only thing left for people to get excited about in terms of Smash, isn't it?
I suppose the ones that would fit now, if they could get the rights, would just be Crash, Spyro, Rayman.
Yeah, a lot of people
Jack
are calling
and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank.
A lot of people are calling out for Crash. I think that is something that could happen, just because he now exists on Switch with the Crash Collection, and Crash 4 will one day come. But we'll see what's around the corner for that. Before we get to the big one, one last bit. The Xbox Series X has sort of been handed out early, sort of a preview model of the console, which is apparently very, very much the retail version, but doesn't look like there's some stuff slightly different on the back. Anyway, it's been handed out to influencers, in air quotes, in the gaming world for sort of early impressions. But they're under embargo over various things that they can and can't talk about. So basically, they can't play any next-gen games, and there's lots that they can't talk about yet. But the things they can talk about are sort of the way...
So a similar experience to anyone that buys one immediately, then?
Well, yeah. Well, hey. So far, they can only talk about load times, quick resume, and frame rate improvements on backwards compatibility games.
Beg your pardon? What is quick resume?
Quick resume is how you can have about 6 games playing at the same time, and you can basically pause it, jump into another game, and it's pretty incredible, actually, the way that it works. You basically, if you say you're playing Doom Eternal, you pause it.
Is this for people with personality disorders?
Yeah, I don't know why you would ever do it, but it's if for some reason you wanted to have like a beat 'em up, an RPG, and FIFA open at the same time. Don't know why you want to do it, but a lot of people seem to be pretty impressed by it. It is amazing how it works, but I agree with you in that I don't know. I mean, there definitely are some times where I've wanted to do that, just as like I want a palate cleanser here because I've been playing the same game for ages.
I'll tell you what I do. I save my game, I quit it, and I open another one.
Yeah, but what about if you want to jump back in?
I save my game, I quit, and I jump back in.
Oh, but that takes like 10 minutes on your PC, mate.
Not on an SSD, it doesn't.
Well, it's
very quick.
Well, that's why this Xbox is super quick. You should see some vids of it, mate. It's pretty impressive.
I'll take a look, but I don't really understand the point of it. I suppose it's just, hey, look, this is impressive. So fair play.
Yeah, it's that. And they showed off like load times and how they're about 75% faster than on the Xbox One X.
So have we seen UI and stuff now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I need to check this out then.
And also...
You're not praising it, so is it just as bad?
It's just like a better version of what it is at the moment, to be honest. But the UI doesn't bother me quite as much as it did you, so you'll probably
because
know.
You've been using it for so long, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Just sort of like
it
doesn't. I know where the things I need to find are, so it doesn't really bother me that much. And yeah, just like frame rate improvements, so showing loads of game, basically that every game runs at a solid 60 frames per second, and like showed it compared to Xbox One X stuff. The console is in the hands of a lot of people, but they can't talk about loads of stuff yet. They're sort of incremental embargoes are lifting as the weeks go on in what they can talk about. So hopefully this week we'll hear more. As far as we know, PS5s haven't been handed out to anyone yet. But presumably that will start soon. We are still yet to see the PS5's UI. We're looking forward to seeing it. Let's see what Sony do and reinvent that wheel somehow. But there's been a lot of great banter online about the fans being whisper quiet, and people saying, if only Xbox and PlayStation fans were that whisper quiet on Twitter, eh? Sadly, they're not, because they all shout about stuff constantly. Too flipping right, mate. So we're on to the main roasted meat of this episode, well, of the news section at least, which was the big... It's now a couple of weeks old, really, probably about a week and a half old. The news that Microsoft has acquired ZeniMax Studios, which is the parent company of Bethesda. All of the Bethesda owned developers and all of that. So that is Bethesda Studios, Bethesda Softworks, Arcane Studios, Machine Games. I'm reading this off the top of my head. id, of course. All of those type of studios. id are all owned by Microsoft. Now, big news. It was a deal that was worth $8.3 billion.
Say that again?
$8.3 billion.
Superb.
Which is the second highest gaming deal in history, I believe.
What's the first?
I think the first is it's not the Activision Blizzard one. I think it's Tencent buying the people who make Castle Crashers, the iPhone game.
Oh, right.
No, Crusader King. No, not Crusader King. It's some kind of Apple game. So a lot of the biggest games in like deals in gaming have been mobile phone related games.
Right.
So which is weird. But yeah, so this is the second I guess it's a huge install base, isn't it? But anyway, this is the second biggest gaming deal of all time. And sort of the main thing that a lot of people have obviously been asking is, are all of their games going to be purely Xbox exclusive from now on? Phil Spencer has said, the head of Xbox, there's no official word on whether or not this will be the case, but he has said it will be on a case-by-case basis.
Which is a way of saying yes.
Yeah, surely you don't pay $8.3 billion to then say, yeah, all of the Elder Scrolls 6, Starfield, all of it, that's going to be on PlayStation as well. Surely you don't do that.
As far as I'm aware, anything that has been announced and is currently in development will be multi-platform, but that's unlikely to include the Star one you just mentioned that's dropped out of my head.
Starfield,
and Elder Scrolls is up in the air. So any of the other like franchises and things that belong all to the various developers that are within the Bethesda group are likely to be sort of still coming out and shared, but that's up in the air. Can't confirm, but that's what I've read.
It's just very interesting to see what they're going to do with it because, as we mentioned before, Minecraft, which is owned by Microsoft, is on PS5 and Nintendo Switch. So, Microsoft do like to play happy and play friendly and be like, hey, you can keep having that as well. But with a deal this huge and with their console on the line, in terms of it's up against it with PlayStation, a move like this you would have thought has been done for a particular reason. But we know that all Bethesda-owned titles will be coming to Game Pass and new titles will arrive day one. So all future Bethesda games will be there day one on Game Pass. And they've already brought over Doom Eternal, like I mentioned at the top of the pod. And there'll be more to come. So I wonder which of the many versions of Skyrim will make it onto Game Pass. Maybe it's the one that you can play on your fridge or whatever the meme is.
Well, that's correct. I think the biggest thing from this is exactly that, is the Game Pass inclusivity. Is that the word? At the moment. Yeah. But until we know more about some of the other titles, about whether they're actually going to be hardcore, nope. Yeah. Xbox now, see ya. It's obviously a huge power move. It's funny seeing both sides basically eat themselves because the level of hypocrisy is pretty massive. You've got one side saying, "Oh, such and such are buying this. They're such corporate, assholes, and they just buy them out." And then, like, when their side do it, they're like, "Oh, what a move! This is a big play. Oh, great for them, good for them." And it's like, guys, like, obviously, there's a side of me that's like, "This is business. This is what happens. Get over it." And the other side of me is like, "What are you arguing about here?" Like, you're such hypocrites. Like, whatever.
Well, it's just they're just people who are, whether you want to call them fanboys or whatever, will just latch onto any positive or negative piece of news and twist it in a way that benefits their side, and that's all you see every single day on Twitter. And it's incredibly tiring, but it's funny to watch from afar and imagine being that passionate about things. But yeah, it is interesting how sort of both sides of the fence have sort of flip-flopped on their opinions. For example, Sony saying, we believe fully in exclusives. We believe in generational exclusives, that we build games that are best for those generations. And then Spider-Man and the New Horizon game are going to be available on PS4 as well. So then loads of people were up in arms about that. And then Xbox saying, we don't believe in exclusives. Exclusives are bad. We believe that everybody should be able to play everything. And then they go and buy one of the biggest game developing conglomerates in all of gaming. So
hypocrisy.
It's been a funny old few months. But
I guess the other thing worth mentioning is Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, which are both Bethesda titles, are still timed exclusive for PS5. So presumably will make their way over to Xbox as well at some point. The only people that won't be affected by this in any grand way, again, are the PC players, because we will still get Bethesda titles. They will still make their way over, as well as the exclusives on either side, including PS5, that are pushing towards PC more as well. So, like, I guess, like, when you first hear the news, there's the shock and awe. But as PC players, we went, oh, that's a big move. Oh, what's going to happen? Oh, wait, we'll still get the games. It doesn't affect us.
I mean, there could be a scenario in which Microsoft somehow try and encourage more PC players to join Game Pass by some form of exclusivity for some of the games only being on Game Pass, but I doubt that they would do that.
Maybe.
Or at least some form of way of getting them to encouraging them to join that sort of ecosystem. But they're not going to stop people being able to flat out buy the games, because I think people still like owning games. I think.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, you're right. I think it's one of the issues I've had with the Xbox ecosystem is that like the Xbox Series that they're building are just getting more and more PC like anyway. Yeah. And with they just didn't Microsoft as well, not just the Xbox sort of brand, just didn't really support PC gaming all that much, and it was kind of all down to Steam and Origin getting involved and all that sort of thing, and Epic. With this larger service that they're bringing in, it's for me it's really hung into the question of, well, what's the point in consoles anymore, to be honest. And as a PC owner, I have no reason to buy a console. Like, because on the one hand, you'd think if I joined the ecosystem, as in Game Pass and whatever, and got a console, actually the idea of them both interacting with one another, and that kind of makes sense. It's like owning a Mac laptop and an iPhone, and like they kind of work together, right? But actually, if my PC is just going to be more powerful, like why do I need a console as well? And there hasn't, like you say, I don't feel like there's been a big push to, I don't necessarily want them to, but there's not been like a big push for them saying, hey, PC players, you should get Game Pass actually, because the PC side of it is really good and really strong. I've not felt that happen. So like you say, if they kind of push towards that more, they could be getting more players involved in the Xbox brand, even if it's not directly by owning a console. And that's something that Sony doesn't really have. Yeah,
I think it's hard because obviously the more they push towards encouraging people to play things on PC, they're not diverting attention away from, but they're almost saying like, oh, it doesn't matter as much about the console. If you PC players keep playing PC because you can have our games too. And I think that the sort of console versus PC debate is a weird ongoing one, in that I think for me the thing that still makes consoles an attractive thing over PC is just that whether it's true or not, the perceived sort of ease of use and price point, in that you can get something that is one of the most powerful offerings. Like, for example, the Xbox Series X, when it comes out right now, is going to be one of the most powerful offerings out there for a low price. Yes, it will be outdated probably within a year or two, but it will be a pretty powerful thing compared to everything else. But you can get that for a lower price point than building a super high-end PC. And for the people who are like your layman's, who have enough money to afford it but aren't like pro gamers or whatever, you don't have to worry about you installing drivers, all of this, all of that sort of stuff. All of those things that people get scared of, you don't have to worry about that stuff with a console.
Yeah, you've touched on the two big factors really, because with console, the big draw is that it's running on its own proprietary OS. Basically, you turn it on, it's a gaming system, and you can slot the disc in and it's going to play. The big thing for PC for a long time was that like basically any PC you built at any price point was going to be more powerful than the console, and that was true. Yeah. We finally reached a point where, to be honest with you, they're probably losing money on these consoles, but they've managed to put together both sides have managed to put together something that offers something equal to a good gaming PC. And you wouldn't be able to build that system yourself for that money. That's the truth. We finally sort of reached a point where it's like, ooh, that's not that expensive for all of that. Can I build an equivalent for the same money? No, that's interesting. What you do get with a PC, however, is obviously if you go down the Windows route, of course, there's Apple and Linux and all that sort of thing. But with Windows, you obviously get, your storage for your own personal things, browsers, etc. You've got a full operating system that lets you do your own stuff as well. It's not just gaming, but a lot of people don't necessarily want that. So that's the kind of the two things that you've touched on that are correct, that you just turn it on and it's a gaming system rather than all these other things. And plus you've probably, well, not in my experience with Xbox, it blew up after 2 years, but you've probably got more support in terms of when you build your own PC, you have to find out which part goes wrong if it goes wrong. And then you have to go back to the manufacturer if you can't fix it yourself. And apart from warranty, there's not a load of guarantees, where at least with buying a console, you can go back to the shop you bought it from and go, no worky, or go, hey Sony, or hey Microsoft, what's up with this? It broke. In my case, they'll tell you to F off, which is why I won't buy one. But yeah, it's a big factor, and I think that the gap is closing between the two a little bit in terms of sort of power and price. But technically, even if you build a PC down to a budget, technically you're still getting more bang for your buck, I would say.
So even if you built a £450 PC, which is what both of the new consoles are going to be, what sort of power, what sort of bang for your buck do you think you can get from scratch? Totally from scratch.
I don't know. I'd have to go on PC Part Picker if you want to check it out.
Okay, well, that's maybe that's some homework for you before. Well, I
can tell you right now, it won't be as powerful. I wouldn't be able to build. I wouldn't be able to get one as powerful. But I guess what it would offer you is upgradability. So when then the consoles start to like fall away a little bit before like the next gen ramps up, which will be 5 or 6, 7, 8, who knows, years from now, that will change. Just because it will. But of course, what you do have is upgradability because it's all modular, and you get an OS that can do everything for you, which is obviously a big factor. As I said, consoles run on their own proprietary OS, and they offer you what they offer you, which in Xbox's case is that chat room system and everything. But obviously, right now we're chatting via Discord. That's on PC and Mac. So I mean, there's lots of factors. And it depends what you want. And you're absolutely right. If you're looking to play games and you've got 450 quid, buy a console, turn it on, slap your game in there. Off you go. That's great. I get it.
Slap it right in there. And this sort of conversation leads quite nicely into, I mean, we've had a lot to talk about this episode already, but sort of before we get into some lovely listener feedback, after we let that PlayStation 5 conference sit, and we've had various other little bits of news, some of which we've just touched on there about some of the Microsoft stuff. What's your sort of current feelings about next gen? How it looks right now? What do we think about all of the sort of marketing leading up to this point and the way that both sides are presenting what they've got to offer? All of our kind of general thoughts, because we are now only, I think, is it 40 days? Something close, like that, 45 days on the day of recording until the Xbox at least drops. So, yeah.
Well, as you say, like the 2 weeks ago, we always said that it was going to be an interesting fight. Microsoft probably on the back foot, but like there was this sort of possibility of, Game Pass is huge. Don't really, the future is uncertain, especially with like Halo and no big franchises there. And then PlayStation came out with that, again, that thing that they always do so well, those big showcases. And we thought, damn, we genuinely thought that was the first initial reaction was, well, okay, the Sony are running away with this, that's that. And then the Bethesda thing happened. And I don't think it's desperation, but it is a power play. It offers a lot of stuff. That alongside EA, whatever you think of EA, but two big things that they can offer there. So they kind of, we needed to let that sit, and we've had the 2 weeks to sort of look at the numbers again and see how we feel. And the truth is I don't know. I don't know. I mean, as a PC player, I am boved, as in I don't want to necessarily go out or pre-order either. I don't need either. And I think a lot of PC players would think the same thing. There isn't anything huge that would draw us over to the console platform. For me, and we both think this anyway, it would be all those PlayStation games, that the exclusives that were just great that we missed out on and haven't played yet.
Yes.
I'd love to, but I have so many other offerings and things, and I know like more PlayStation games will be coming to PC anyway, so I'm like, But in terms of the fight, in terms of the console war, couldn't call it. I really couldn't call it. I think it's. I think it's I don't know. There's so many factors, and we've gone over this before. Like with the PlayStation 5, they're both the same console. One's just not got a disc tray. That's a big draw because you're not buying a version that's like quote unquote worse. I don't mean worse, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You've got the exclusives. There's the certainty of like the future of exclusives there. But Xbox clearly want to, stick in the fight and grab their own. And like, so we don't know necessarily what's in their future, but the consoles look powerful enough. They look great. There's a cheaper option. 250 quid is not that expensive and is like a big draw.
No,
that's an easy punt for a lot of people, I think.
Oh yeah. For the more casual gamers, at least.
But and the Game Pass is undeniably just a great service. So I couldn't call it either way in terms of who I think's ahead or who I think's quote unquote better. But I don't know, man. I don't know where I stand on it. I'm just really enjoying the fact that there's competition again. That's where I am. Because for 2.5 generations, there's just 1.5 generation, I'll be fair. It's just been an outright Sony fest. And they do, in order to keep things interesting and keep Sony like interesting and keep them on their toes, they do need competition. And, my greatest sort of memories of gaming is having a Wii and an Xbox 360. That was so much fun. There's so much fun to be had in that generation. And then getting a PS3 down the line and playing their exclusives was amazing. And what we've had is just Game Pass like very slowly like coming into fruition, and then finally like getting their services together and the PC thing coming in more and more. But in general, they've been flatlining. And now suddenly they've come out and gone. Game
Pass is turning the tide a bit, isn't it? I think for me, what I'm really interested in this next month is now that people have the Xbox Series X in their hands, once the PS5 is in people's hands, I would just on a sort of quite nerdy basis, just really like to see the difference in performance, because if one side, it's as simple as is edging it slightly on things like load times or frame rates. We know that Xbox has like native 4K, whereas like the PS5 I think has like its upscales to 4K like quite a bit.
I can tell you right now, you won't feel the difference as long as the main difference is the frame rate. If the frame rates on both consoles run stably at firstly 60 FPS if it's completely stable.
Yeah.
And both completely stable at 120 FPS. If there are no big low spikes, you won't notice the difference. And in terms of load times, you won't notice the difference. Especially with the PS5 thing. Like we said this when we were watching Ratchet and Clank. The thing is that with the amount of like loading that presumably was going on in that game, you're going to take that for granted. You're not going to notice. You just won't. So
I think it was just like videos like the like Red Dead Redemption 2, which normally takes 2 minutes to load into the game, now only taking 40 seconds, which is obviously still a while, but like compared to 2 minutes, that's awesome. If both consoles are offering a very, very similar thing, it's then just down to the games. Yes. And the thing that Game Pass is doing very well is, which I think what some people do take for granted is, yes, PlayStation does have those awesome exclusive games, but I think sometimes quantity is actually like the fact that on day one you will have hundreds and hundreds of games available to you on Xbox Game Pass, I think cannot be taken for granted, especially when they're saying that there's quite a lot of games that won't work on the PS5. Yes, a lot of PS4 games will. But to have all of these games available for you on day one on the Xbox, especially if there's a lot that you've missed out on, I think that is awesome. It's just going to be a case of I'm still just waiting for like one more big announcement on either side to really help me out, because I did react massively to the PS4 one, and like Demon Souls is absolutely huge. I can't get massively excited about God of War 2 just because I didn't play the first one.
You would be able to.
But I would be able to, exactly. And there's a lot of stuff that, I'd be able to go back and revisit. So I would absolutely love to do that. It is just the I do feel like PlayStation needs an answer to Game Pass in some way. I don't know exactly what that is.
Well, they do have their PlayStation Plus thing, and of course, I guess the answer was on release you get all of these PS4 big titles. That was their answer to it, and I think they were also saying, and we want to build on this. So what they're saying is, we know about Game Pass. We need to buck our ideas up a bit. So the service does exist. And of course, on day one, you get a load of big titles. But in terms of ramping that up and making it more and more competitive, they've said they will.
Yeah.
But we don't know what that looks like yet.
Yeah, I think it's also just in general, the Xbox marketing has been very vocal and consistent over the last couple of months, and is still almost on a daily basis talking quite a lot. Whereas PlayStation's been quite quiet. I almost feel like they are ramping, almost waiting to say something else. And I'd quite like to hear a little bit more from them, because obviously I massively enjoyed the last showcase, and it absolutely blew me away, some of the stuff in that.
I mean, the way,
but it's just when the Xbox has been, it's out there now, it's out there in the public, and people are using it and are being very impressed by the speed and power of it. It'd be nice to see the PlayStation out there as well, so people can be like, oh shit, this thing's doing it too.
I mean, the one thing I would say about that is that obviously these people that are being given the tech, they've been given it. And I'm not going to say they've been given money as well. But of course, they're going to. Well, it's going to be positive. And I would say that either side, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the place you can trust, though, is, do you know Digital Foundry, who do a lot of tech stuff? They got given one, and they're pretty, as far as I can tell, are very neutral. But I mean, there may be an element of that for
I would
a
just
lot
take
of the
that
people.
with a ginormous tablespoon of salt.
Do you think even with Digital Foundry?
It's more the fact that, like, it is a move to like get publicity out there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But it's more that, like, because they were just dealing, they're doing like you were saying, they were clocking the FPS and like.
I think I took a look at that
comparisons of other cons. Yeah. Just stuff like that is saying that. And even though the quick resume thing seems to have you're not that jazzed about, just the fact that they're saying things like that doesn't really exist even on PC at the moment in terms of being able to have 6 different games running at the same time, regardless of whether people actually need to do that.
And, I mean, it's impressive
to be able to do that.
You wouldn't have 6 films running at the same time and switch between them. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever.
No.
I don't really understand who that's for. But like, it's cool.
I get. Yeah. I'm trying to work out why you would ever need to do that. I suppose if it's just like, I'm playing Red Dead. Oh, my girlfriend wants to quickly jump on and play Rocket League with some friends. Done it for 2 minutes. I'll jump straight back into Red Dead without having to.
Yeah.
Yeah. As in, like, there's a chance that it could be people might get excited about it, but I get what you're saying. It's hardly I don't know. It's hardly a console seller, is it?
Just to sort of round off where you're at, where we left it 2 weeks ago. You mentioned, obviously the Sony thing really sort of brought it to you that, man, I missed out on some great games, and maybe I'm leaning towards that, and bloody hell, I want to play Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
Sort of. So where are you now? Is it just what you said in terms of I need another big announcement, or are you still leaning to, I don't need to upgrade my Xbox because there aren't like there aren't next gen exclusive games coming out yet. So maybe the best thing to do now is keep my Game Pass, hop onto Sony, buy one of those, and like, where you at? Like, what's going on?
I'm kind of in the position now where I think I'm just going to wait a while. I'm not going to be in any hurry to pick one up on day one.
Is that either?
Or? As in, like, either on day one, I think part of the reason why I am interested to look at the tech side of stuff, just because in case there is anything glaring in both of them, whether there's been some false stuff said by them and things aren't quite living up to what they promised and all that sort of stuff. I am going back to Cyberpunk before.
Yeah.
There's part of me that, and I know you're going to say get a PC, but there's a part of me that thinks if I'm playing it, I've suddenly got very excited at the thought of being able to like run Cyberpunk on a really powerful console.
Yeah.
Just because I think that is going to be a really awesome experience. I'm just quite interested to see like really which is going to come out on top in terms of performance. So that is going to be a factor. But I'm just not in any rush. In all honesty, I think if either console had a a launch title that was like, I need to get it full. Like, obviously, I really want to play Demon's Souls, but it's not enough for me to get a PlayStation yet because it's an old game that looks really, really pretty. But it's like, if I really wanted to, I could play the first Demon's Souls, even though it looked like a pile of shit. It's a game I've played Dark Souls loads. It's not reinventing the wheel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get a console for that, exclusively that. So I'm sort of like, well, nothing is rushing my hand.
Yeah.
But I'm in that same position. I know PlayStation's got some incredible exclusives, and I've missed out on some, so I really want to play them. On the other side, I absolutely love Game Pass. Now they've got Bethesda, they've got EA. If they come out and say, oh, by the way, yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive or whatever, with some proof that it's actually going to be a good and game that actually works, that might sway me slightly. So yeah, I think. What's that?
And actually an RPG.
Well, yeah, I mean, the true. Yeah, I think I am not changed. I think I got very excited by that PS5 showcase because they did really, really well. But there's been some weird stuff coming out recently about like not being able to bring your save over from the PS4 to the PS5 in certain games, which I just don't understand why you wouldn't be able to do that. Things like that is just like PlayStation sometimes don't make very smart player moves, whereas Xbox are very good at that at the moment anyway.
Xbox are very good at establishing an ecosystem. Sony are very good at moving forward and looking forward.
Yeah.
And neither are bad things.
Yeah.
And neither are necessarily like the best choice. There's benefits to both, you know. So I understand both sides from a positive and negative point of view. As I've said, as a PC player, don't really want or need either. I think if you were to push me, like if I wasn't a PC player, I would be leaning towards the PS5 because of Demon's Souls and all the games I haven't played.
Yeah.
But I'm going on the pretense that I haven't played those games.
Yeah.
So if I was a PS4 owner, the truth is I'd be the same as you.
Yeah.
And if I was an Xbox owner, again, I'd be the same as you. I'd just be waiting, I think. But as it stands now, if I didn't have a PC, I'd probably be leaning to PS5 and playing those amazing exclusives that I hadn't played and then moving forward from there. But that's where I'm at.
Yeah. It makes sense, man. It's been like you said earlier, compared to 2013 when it was like Xbox just shot themselves in both feet and then amputated both legs and spent the next 7 years in a wheelchair.
They started doing that, you know, towards the latter third of the Xbox 360 cycle because they were doing so well, and then they went into the Kinect and the Avatar stuff and tried to like fight the Wii. Rather than just continually establishing themselves and like the exclusives in the games and stuff. It's a really weird move, and you could just see this massive decline. So for me, it started then.
They just backed the wrong horse, didn't they?
Oh, massively. And then the Xbox One was just a no-go situation.
And then since Phil Spencer became head of Xbox, however, 4 years ago or whenever it was, they've been just all the while not putting out any decent games. They've been slowly planting some seeds, sort of leading towards this generation. And now we're at a very interesting place where, like you said, it is a competition again. And they're both fighting in some ways very different wars, but in some ways, because of the hypocrisy of it all, like you were saying, very similar. They're just doing the same things as each other. So yeah, it's incredibly interesting, and we would love to know what you all think about the current state. Once again, leading very soon into the next generation of gaming. Our dear current MVL Lawal Mohammed has got in touch, just touching on some of those sort of questions. He's asked, did you guys attempt running any of the pre-order gauntlets? For me, it was only a slightly stressful process, but ultimately one that was relatively smooth and was over in 15 minutes. Achievement unlocked. Series X secured. 50 minutes, that's pretty quick considering what I heard. I heard that both trying to get either console was an absolute nightmare. Pro tip, find a handful of retailer links ahead of time and register with them to have a login and card details ready on their systems. Good thinking, Lawal. If anybody needs to, well, I mean, it's just done now, but good to know for future. This week, I've been enjoying Hades on Nintendo Switch. Stunning all round, just outstanding stuff. Agree with you there, Lawal. I found that in moments that I wanted to sit down and play this weekend, that both No Man's Sky, eager to revisit following their galaxy-wide update, and Forza Horizon 4 needed updates before I could launch them. In the moment I settled for Tell Me Why, second chapter. I've played that as well and enjoyed it. No Man's Sky I dipped into a few months ago and was a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of stuff going on. I was like, no thanks. I
tried it. It just went, nope.
Yeah. Back to the wall. The next-gen smart delivery and multiple quick resume and shorter load time conveniences can't come soon enough. I think that these things are what I'm initially most looking forward to. What next-gen features are you most looking forward to?
I love that he always finishes with a little question. That's cute.
He does, doesn't he?
It's nice.
Firstly, as you just heard, while neither of us tried to pre-order one of the new consoles.
Sorry, mate.
Sorry to let you down there, but good job for securing your Xbox and for getting an achievement in that. That's nice of Microsoft to give you an achievement. And on your next question, what next-gen features are you most looking forward to? Nice, smooth textures, baby. Now, I mean, to be honest, for me, I get excited a bit less about, the next jump in resolution or whatever, and more just in really groundbreaking games and games that do things for me, whether that's nostalgia based or so I'm very excited to see what they do with Fable, for example, just to know what they're going to do with that, because when Fable came out, it really was quite a, not game changer, but it was quite genre defining as a Western RPG and the sort of things you could do in that game. Mark's just put his fringe down over his face and given me a lovely sort of 90s grunge look. I would like to see games that really feel like next generation games, insofar as they're using things like the quicker load times, the power of the SSD, and also the increased frame rates to really make the most of those consoles, and not just, hey, it looks pretty, but things like an open world game having insanely fast load times. I am very much looking forward to, because playing things like Fallout or Skyrim in the past, where you quick travel from one place to another, it makes you not want to quick travel, because you've got to be sat on a loading screen for a minute and a half.
Yeah,
like things like that will make me want to get into open world games even more, because I know that I can move from here to here quickly. It's all going to look amazing. Like, for example, one of the things that I want to do when I first get a next gen console is get back into Red Dead Redemption 2, because I nearly finished that game. I didn't finish it, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't. And I want to jump back in and complete it on a next-gen console with fast loading times where it all looks nice and pretty. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Mark, you've got a PC, so you're already in the next-gen.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing games at, 165 frames, 165 hertz for a while. So, that's sort of resolutional FPS stuff doesn't...
That's a quicker frame rate than real life, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. It's more than I can see. You don't need it. So that sort of resolutional sort of pretty stuff isn't really like a thing I'm bothered by or looking forward to. I'm sort of been doing that for a while. Because I'm not in the console realm apart from the Switch, all those features that both sides have been talking about, I'm not that bothered by. So I think if I was getting into one of the sides and buying one, weirdly, I think the thing I'd be most excited about is actually the new PS5 controller, because I disliked the DualShock 4 hugely, and this looks like it's a lot more comfortable and more larger.
It's a bit of a chunkier boy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a bit chunky.
And you might say, well, what about the Xbox controller? Well, they've always been great, apart from the first Xbox. So, there's nothing to get excited about. It's going to be a great controller. It's going to be comfortable. So I'm not that bothered. So that's probably a weird thing to be interested in, but I'd like to try one of those out. Yeah, load times and stuff. I've been running games off SSDs for a long time, and a lot of games I immediately noticed were loading quicker. But it's also to do with game optimization, which is probably something you perhaps not thought about. Because I remember a couple of weeks ago I was playing Fallout 4 again. Makes no difference. Fallout 4 is so terrible that the load times are still like 2 minutes. And this is off an SSD. I hate to play it on the hard drive because, goodness me, it's so slow. So there's a little bit of game optimization wizardry that's probably involved in that. So yeah, I don't know. There's nothing in particular. I've always enjoyed the party system on the Xbox. I think that's always good.
Yeah, very true.
I don't know. Yeah, nothing in particular. I'm doing a lot of the things that are coming forward already. So, yeah, sorry. I don't have a big...
That's all right, mate. I mean, when you're part of the master race, what else do you have to look forward to other than already living in the future?
Yeah. I guess if what I would say is maybe, as far as I'm aware, the SSD technology in the PS5 doesn't exist in the PC realm yet. So I suppose if I was to look forward to something, it would be
see how that works.
Seeing how that works and seeing how fluid that is, comparing that to the Xbox, and also if those technologies come through to the PC, I don't know what the patent situation is or whatever. Then that would be something cool to look into. But otherwise,
again, that's something I'm looking forward to when people get their hand, like Digital Foundry, people like this, when they get their hands on the PlayStation 5. Just to see what it's all about. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question, Lawal. If you do have any questions for us, anybody listening out there, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me and Mark. We're two vaguely nice guys who try to lead decent, honest lives, being good to other people, but also not being afraid to slander games when we don't like them. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you do want to get in touch with us, Mark, we've got a lovely email address, haven't we, that you can send emails to us on?
Yeah, and only emails. pushingbuttonspod@gmail.com is the email address. So please, send us your thoughts and opinions. We'd love to hear it.
Superb. Yeah, only emails work there. Please do not try and fax us on that address. I don't know where it would go if you tried.
Social media, Twitter @PBPodcastUK. You can follow us there, and on Instagram @PushingButtonsPod. They're both different. It's a bit confusing. Apologies.
Yeah, sorry about that. Give us a follow.
But thanks for listening. If you're on Spotify, Apple Pod, YouTube, Deezer, Stitcher, is there anything else we're on? I think we're on them all.
Amazon Podcasts.
Oh, we're on Amazon.
Yeah. We're on all of it. Oh, iHeartRadio, we're on there.
Nice. I don't even know what that is. But yeah, find us everywhere, listen, spread it around to your friends, become an MVL, have a jingle, all that good stuff.
Before we go next week, we were going to try and fit it into this ep, but sadly, we had too much to talk about because we're a couple of bloody chatterboxes, the two of us. Our good friend Jiggy has done a glorious review of the game Hades that we've talked about on this episode. We'll be talking about it next week. We'll read out a good chunk of his review. But if you want to go and read it now, please go to his blog website, which is jiggyicarus.wixsite.com. jiggyicarus.wixsite.com. Go give it a read. It could be your homework before the next podcast if you want. But we're going to read out a little bit about that, and I can share some of my more in-depth opinions about Hades as well.
Excellent. More chat about Hades next week. Do go check it out. He writes very well. It's a good read.
He does, doesn't he?
We could probably call him a contributor if he keeps doing this. Anyway, but check that out next week. More Hades chat. I don't think we know exactly what we're going to talk about. We might wait on some more news and see what's fresh.
Yeah, that's a good. There's bound to be something, but maybe I'll put a little tweet out in advance and let people know what we'll talk about.
Otherwise, it's going to be more games chat and reviews and nonsense as always, I suppose.
Yeah, I reckon that. And